Welcome loyal fans. My name is Matt Armstrong and I will be your host for parts of this video.
What are you saying, man?
Today we will race on the Laguna Seca track located in California.
What are you saying?
What's that? You can't hear me, yet these cars are pretty loud indeed.
What is he saying?
One moment please. Right, this should be better. Anyway, as I was saying, today we will race on the Laguna Seca track located in California. And the cars at choice are these very loud V12 F3500-A Formula 1 based cars. That is quite the combo. Let's take a quick look at Dordener's reaction when he saw this combo come up on the Nations Cup list.
I see.
Yeah, that sums it up all right. Laguna Seca is already a very technical and difficult track by itself. Trying to keep these cars on the tarmac is going to be quite difficult. One wrong move and you are right in the dirt. And the dirt is basically everywhere around the track in this desert location. Qualifying lasts for the default 5 minutes, which should allow for 3 flying laps. So we actually get more than one shot this time.
Nope.
The race itself lasts for 25 laps. Since these are short laps of around 1 minute 8, the race should last for around 29 minutes. Only the racing mediums are available to be used, and there is one mandatory pit stop. Strategy-wise, this should mean that pitting around lap 12 or 13 would be optimal for tyre wear. However, overtaking is going to be very difficult here, and as such it's wise to let traffic determine your pit stop window. Since the mediums last for quite a while, you can easily stop as early as lap 8 to 10 if you are having traffic issues. This way you can try and get some clean air by utilizing the undercut. And vice versa, of course. If you are driving in clean air, it's probably wise to extend your stint a bit to prevent falling right back into traffic. So staying out until lap 15 to 17 can ensure you get back on track, some clean air instead of in traffic. That does open you up for an undercut by others, but they themselves will run the risk of getting into traffic after their stop as well, costing them valuable time. In any case, the expectation is that this race will be determined by mistakes. It's easy to go slightly off track here and lose control. And when you do that, it's difficult to rejoin the track with these powerful cars from the dirt and with dirty tyres. Let's take a look at a compilation of mistakes made by Dordenov in only 2 practice races to show you how tricky this combo can be. As you can see, we also have some very punishing sausage curbs to avoid in most corners here. Hitting them will almost guarantee your car getting launched straight off the track. This one is going to be fun.
I doubt that.
Well, I guess that should give an indication of the challenge that awaits. Let's quickly move on to qualifying to see what is going to transpire here.
Hold on, Matt. Before we can move on to the main event, we have some highlights to look at. The first race didn't quite go as planned, so let's have a look. Qualifying was about as much as he could hope for. A 1 minute 6.6 is about all the pace he generally has in qualifying, and the lap felt pretty good as well. P1 has some insane pace though. The rest is at least rather close. Now let's take a look at the resulting race. We'll start on board of the driver starting on P5, so we can get a good eye on the action. Kratos in P4 got the first corner all sorts of wrong, but luckily he took evasive action instead of ramming Dordanov straight off the track. Not the best exit from Dordanov because he got the corner wrong with P2 right in front of him and some back and forth action in the next corners. So far, no harm done. Yeah, and this is where it all falls apart. P4 brakes way too late, uses Dordanov as his brakes, and just continues on his merry way. No penalty either, of course. Now Dordanov also needs to be very careful with his dirty tires, some added rear spoiler damage, and a few other drivers breathing down his neck. He sees Gurk move to the inside and decides to leave space, so there is no crash. Since he backed down anyway, would have been better if he just stayed behind, to be honest. Oh boy, we can see where this is headed.
No! God, please, no! No!
A textbook example of when it rains, it pours. Once you go off track, it takes a while for the grip to return, especially with some added damage. Probably still a bit too eager to make up for lost time. As we also see here by totally messing up the corkscrew. Doesn't help, he got the additional push to spin him around, or he might have remained on track at least. Currently, dead last. It's clear this race cannot be truly salvaged anymore. One lap later, he is caught up to the back of the field and is granted P14 by someone serving a penalty. Another lap later, it looks like we have some more places up for grabs. That was definitely not the cleanest of overtakes. What can't be seen in this replay is that the Russian was ghosted from driving slow after rejoining the track. Dordanov was banking on the ghosting lasting a bit longer, but that did not turn out to be the case. Luckily, the Russian driver did not hold grudges and brushed it off as a racing incident. Another lap later, another back marker to be overtaken. Very nice if only all overtakes were this easy on this track.
What the fuck?
Of course, has to be another incident. Murphy's Law seems to be in full effect here. Let's take a look from the other driver's perspective. And there we see the issue. 2 wheels off track will not help you slow down. Add the fact that he is already too late to brake to begin with, and it's recipe for disaster. Doesn't show the decency to wait up after such a massive mistake though, but does get a penalty for causing it, at least. Another lap later, more shenanigans. Ultra Megalord had just crashed and rejoined, but Dordanov still wasn't counting on him being this slow. He waits up to allow him back in front, but the penalty is well deserved. The Bratwurst is still struggling with his dirty tires though, and is easily overtaken for now. Dordanov's plan is to go straight into the pits with his penalty. He keeps running into traffic anyway, and trying an undercut on those stragglers might work wonders. Seven laps later, he is trying to hunt down the Stracciatella, who is currently in 11th place. At least the pace is there. Too bad that doesn't help too much when you are all the way back in 12th place. One lap later, the inevitable is going to happen. Up into 11th, but time is running out, and there is a big gap in front to the next drivers. That gap turned out to be too much, even though he has almost caught up to the Russian just in front. 10th place was gained when veteran Verdu, who we have seen multiple times in Nation Cup races by now, made his pit stop. Sadly, this is it. A meager 10th place. Let's quickly forget about this race and move on. Well then, time for the main event. Let's hope this one is a whole lot better. Let's first take a look at the qualifying laps. Not too shabby. A lot closer to P1 now, even though he was a bit slower this time. He also had to concede his second lap to create a gap because he caught up to one of the slower drivers and needed to manufacture some clean air. It does seem like this is a lower rated lobby though. A win in this lobby is only worth 170 points, where the win in the previous lobby was worth well over 200. Sometimes that happens if your safety rating drops a bit and you are put into a sort of dirty driver's lobby. His safety rating did go slightly down after the last race. Let's take a quick look. I don't know, a tiny sliver seems to be missing, but this is generally not enough to cause issues. Might just be that there are not enough drivers interested in this race. Whatever, let's just move on and do some racing. Since these are F1 cars, expect some nice classic liveries on the grid here. cleanly through the first few corners, at least, compared to the last race, that is a big plus. The Finn in front is lacking pace though, causing the drivers behind to be right on Dordonov's tail. P1 has at least picked up the pace, giving Dordanov the chance to do the same. But the tires and car are still not really feeling hooked up, so the pace is lacking. Forced his way through a little bit, but Dordanov is just happy with the fact he isn't pushed off track, and that allows P4 right through as well. He will just have to trust the process of staying consistent and keeping the car on track. Right now, he much rather follows these cars around than having the risk of being rammed off. It's still early in the race, and there is a high chance some of these drivers will make mistakes. On the plus side, there is a decent gap behind, so currently no risk of being rammed off like in the first race. By now, the car is feeling good and not as slippery as before. The places are already lost, but it seems he can keep up with them for now and hasn't lost connection completely. The Frenchman behind does seem to catch up slightly. That might be due to the bit of slipstream he is getting, but the closer he gets, the more he should feel the dirty air and struggle. That is the hope, at least. The Frenchman behind does not seem to close in currently, but neither is Dordanov gaining much on P3 in front. But doing some steady laps is very acceptable at this point in the race.
Part there, son.
And there is another bit of proof of this being a tricky combination. P1 went for a visit to Barry R and is overtaken. Up to P3. that is pretty unique. That fastest lap is an identical time to that of Miguel, who set it 2 laps earlier. That is at least indication that pace is good now, and he should be catching up to the drivers in front. The difference isn't massive though, so it will take a bit to get to the next action. Let's do a little skip.
Hello, skip.
We join back in near the end of lap 9. As you can see, the gap to the 2 cars in front has diminished a bit. Not too much though, as pace of all 3 cars seems fairly similar. The gap to the car behind has definitely been extended, so that is a big plus. And another fastest lap. He should really be catching these cars. And here we see Rally Boy go into the pits for a pretty early stop. No idea why he goes now. Dordanov hopes pitting at this time will cause him to end up in traffic and lose valuable time. He himself is enjoying the clean air where he can set some good lap times, so is definitely planning to stay out until at least lap 15 or even 17 if the situation allows it. But let's see where Rally Boy ends up. Seems like he is lucky, right in front of a few cars, with a decent gap in front of him. While driving in VR, this info is not known though. All Dordanov can do is hope for the best at this time, all the while driving as fast as he can, of course. Since nothing of importance will happen in between, we might as well just skip to the moment of that pit stop.
There's a drag. Skip.
We join back in at the end of lap 16. Slowly but surely, he has been creeping up on P1. Oh, and a mistake there. That gap is closed immediately. As soon as the gap closed, he made the decision to pit opposite of P1. If P1 would have had dirty tires, it could cost time if overtaking is not possible. While taking the pit stop now should hopefully mean he gets out in clean air. All we want to know now is where he ends up in relation to Rally Boy. That is pretty awesome. The overcut has worked even though Rally Boy did not end up in traffic. It was just a case of Dordanov's pace being better, and this way you didn't even have to overtake him on track. Happy days. After the pit stop, pace was still a few tenths a lap better, so we can do another skip right to the end.
The castle.
Don't we need to know that?
Nah, we don't need to know anything of the previous laps. Okay, maybe just one thing. Miguel in P1 made a very late pit stop in lap 20, but he still had enough pace in those extra laps to end up ahead in P1. Even though he is currently slightly gaining on P1, it doesn't look like it will be enough for an overtake. Let's take a quick look at the past lap times though. Those are showing some strong pace and consistency, and so far, the entire race has been without a single mistake as well. Something he hasn't managed to achieve in any of the previous 10 practice races he has done to prepare. That is what you like to see. And there we have it, a solid second place. He got close to first at the end there, but that might just have been him playing it safe. Even though points for this lobby aren't as high as for the first one, there is no way he is going to risk it trying for a third race. Points could just be lower because less people are competing now, because a lot of players were dreading this difficult combo. So we will happily bag the 163 points as payment for this nice result of a strong race. And here we see some confirmation that some people were not too happy with this combo and skipped it altogether. Even though points were quite a bit lower than last race, he still climbed 2 P1 in the Netherlands. And also from 99th to 77th for Europe, I'm sure some of the big shots will come out and rain on this parade, but for now it's very awesome to see. Thank you for watching, and we will see you in the next one.